In this video, I'm going to take this Mazda 1000 for a test drive. You may recognise it from the first HubNut social. HubNut, sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. So yeah, here it is, a Mazda 1000 as it was sold in the UK, or the Familia on the home market, and the Familia range is what became the 323. Oh, there I am. Look, lovely HubNut sticker. And very unusual rear styling. I love the rear lights. They're absolutely fantastic. And you know, we've got all mod cons. Look, we've got little reverse lights in the bumper. Lovely original raised digit number plates. Absolutely lovely. And yeah, about 14,000 miles on the clock. It is a beautiful low mileage example. We've still got remnants of the original dealer sticker, so it's come quite a long way from Ipswich, and that's where we are today, having just had the Rover's brakes fettled. They're now much better, I'm pleased to report. So Mazda 1000 was the export name. Some very 70s Japanese hubcaps, that one a little battered. I picked a bad one to zoom in on, but yeah, what a pleasing little shape. It's very conventional, a little 1 litre pushrod engine and rear wheel drive, and I think it's probably even got leaf spring rear suspension, not too sure. Let's go and have a look. Yeah, simple as they come. So probably a little bit smaller than an Escort, but it would have been a rival for that sort of car. But back in the 70s, Japanese stuff was hit with quite hefty import duties. Let's go and have a look inside. It's a world of black plastic and vinyl, but look, we've still got the protective plastic on the doors, so we can't even inspect their majesty because that's never been removed. A bit of corrosion going on, but it's all original, untouched. And if we jump aboard, we've got an early incarnation of the Mazda logo. Yeah, not actually quite 14,000, it's 13,810 miles. The HubNut social was the furthest it had been since getting back on the road. But that's one fantastic horn, and lovely little heater controls as well. But also very simple. Look, we've got no radio, but we have got a cigarette lighter, and in the ashtray it's even got a set, look at that, original spare fuse kit, unopened seemingly. Wonderful. See if we've got anything in the glove box. Oh yes, there's a newspaper in there, and a heater duct. So yeah, always good to have a heater duct in your glove box. But look, cup holders in the 1970s. So this example dates from 1974, I think. It's the second generation Familia, and got a lovely organ pedal throttle, pendant pedals for the other two. There's the bonnet release, little 4-speed gearbox. Third's there somewhere. There we go, there's third. Really nice positive action on it, and into reverse. That's lovely. Quite shapely vinyl seats with head restraints, which would be unusual for the time. You wouldn't get those in an Escort. Other cars are available for comparisons. I'm not just picking on the Escort. Fairly tight for rear leg room, but there's some space. But yeah, I mean, wonderful texture to the vinyl. But I'm glad it's not a hot day. Look, we've even got the original plastic still on the sun visors. I mean, it makes you wonder why people buy cars not to use. Let's go and have a peek at the power plant. There we go. Oh, sorry, it's not a pushrod engine, it is overhead camshaft. So this is the later engine. There were pushrod to start with, but this has got the later 985cc, I think it is, overhead cam. Again, pretty unusual for a little family runabout in the mid-70s. Everything else pretty much would have had overhead valve. You would need an Allegro to get an overhead cam from BMC, BL. The original That's actually easier to read on this screen than it is in real life. Beautiful. And there we go. Paint code AM. I wonder what the paint's called. Marvellous. Thing is, here at DFTR Automotive, they've got another two. And in fact, this one's actually a 1300, which is the bigger bore engine. And it's got the posh dashboard. Look, wood effect dashboard, and it's got a stereo, or a radio, certainly. And then there's this one as well, which is the same colour. And there are sort of rotary plans for both of those. So I like the fact that that could be rotary powered. Bit of a sleeper, look just like the other one. So yeah, DFTR Automotive, bit Mazda obsessed. They do compression tests of rotary engines and all sorts, though not exclusively Mazdas. Some people bring their British rubbish to play with. Right, let's go for a drive. She doesn't seem to want all that much choke. Out we go into the daylight. Quite a high bite on that clutch pedal. Just going to have to wait for this big lorry to sort itself out. But oh well, tiny little headlamp stalk. Oh, there we go, that's our hazard warning lights. Oops. Maybe she wants a bit more choke than that. But lovely light steering. Feels very tight. The brakes are, yeah, brakes are good. The engine is a bit raucous, to be honest, isn't it? Oh, come on, little car. The gearing is definitely on the short side. That's it, we're 30 miles an hour now. The ride is a little uncouth, but not bad. This is very charming indeed. Yeah, the brakes need a good shove, but the bite is good. Dare I say, it feels slightly better than a Rover 820, which may not be in the best of fettle, but yeah, quite a lot of engine and transmission noise, and I think the biggest problem is this isn't going to be a quick car. Feels very short in terms of gearing, and apparently 60 is about all she wants to do. Ah, the delights of Merry Hill to our right here. Feels quite perky. So the Mazda Familia was Mazda's first attempt to build a family car, and back in the day you could get some of them with rotary engines, and in fact for poor Adam and Dean, who own this example, I think that's the most common question they get asked: does it have a rotary engine? But no. As much as Mazda loved rotary engines, it realised that to make money selling cars, you sometimes have to be a bit ordinary and that's where the Mazda Familia was a massive hit. It was just plain, simple, unassuming, but very capable. And it quickly became one of the most popular cars from Japan. In 1977, this version was replaced by the first hatchback version, which famously had quite bug-eyed headlamps. And although my Mazda 323 has a 323 badge, it doesn't actually owe anything to this family line. The F means it's something a bit different. Try not to run over this Kawasaki. Yeah, 15 miles an hour is about it for first gear. We'll go and see if we can find some nicer roads, because these roads are rubbish, really. It's just traffic light after traffic light. Gearbox, the synchro mesh can be beaten on the downshift. Oh dear. Oh yeah, handling is oh, something in the boot apparently. Yeah, it feels a little unrefined when it comes to handling. I don't think it was the greatest priority. And that was a criticism levelled at the Japanese, apart from sports cars like the Datsun 240Z and the Honda S800. Japanese cars weren't generally known for their excellent ride or handling. It took them a while to cotton on to that. I mean, really, until the 1990s. Even the Nissan Bluebird that I had, it felt a bit ponderous compared to some of its competitors, and the Datsun Stanza was panned in the press for being outright dangerous because it would lift off oversteer. I'm not going to push this to see if it'll do that. It's just not the right car. I had a comment in a recent video saying, why do you use the parking brake at traffic lights? And the answer is because I'm not an idiot. I get fed up sitting behind cars where they just hold their foot on the brake and you get blinded by the lights, especially at night. I was taught to drive in an era when this was what you do at a set of traffic lights. And I am perhaps guilty of holding the car in first gear too much sometimes, but when you've got no synchro mesh on first, you can't get first quickly. So cars like the 2CV, it really is, the only answer is to just hold it in first. It's a lot easier. Quick tip on that basis. Oh, look, a Jaguar I-Pace. There will be some I-Pace action coming to HubNut soon, believe it or not. But yeah, what we're saying, a little trick in a car with no synchro mesh on first gear. If you come to a stop and select first, sometimes there can be a crunch because the gearbox internals are still spinning. So if you select second and then select first, it'll be a nice sweet change. But we've got synchro mesh on all gears here, so that shouldn't be a problem. It's not very good synchro mesh, it seems. A little weak on second and third on the downshift. Maybe some fresh gearbox oil might improve matters. I don't know. Oh, a Jaguar dealer, that's probably where the I-Pace came from. I would say this really is all right. I'm not going to do a 0 to 60 because, well, everyone laughed at how long it took the Allegro to get to 60. And I think some of that was probably because I was a bit scared of really revving it in each gear. So, more modern stuff I will happily do a 0 to 60 in, but that's not going to be appropriate today. Besides, I haven't found anywhere with a speed limit beyond 30 yet, so it's all a bit frustrating. But I see 40 signs, that's got to be good. As everyone brakes. Yeah, the brake pedal is a bit wooden. I think I'm going to go right here actually. Straight back into a 30 zone. Oh, there we go. At least we've got a clear bit of road and some broken road as well, so test that ride out. And maybe it was a bit harsh on that ride. It is a touch bouncy perhaps, but it's okay. And that's the thing, the Japanese did well in the UK because while the driving dynamics were nothing to shout, nothing to write home about rather, they were, you know, not everyone wants keen driving dynamics, they just want good enough, and this is certainly that. Interesting, there's no slight position, there's no lift on the indicator stalk, it's on or off. So there we go, that's an enjoyable little drive on horribly busy roads in a Mazda Familia or 1000. I was also just wondering about wipers, but look, it's all done on the one stalk. There we go. Now I can show you. I like that how they've put this sticker right where you can't see it. So rotate, I'll push in for wash, that's the bottom one, and rotate for wipers. Well, it wouldn't be much of a HubNut video without wipers, would it? So we'll put the ignition on, and we shall press. Oh, there we go. And we shall turn. Oh, there we go. Oh, these, I'm guessing these might be the original wiper blades. They're hopeless. 2-speed? Yeah. All mod cons. Very nice. Entirely failed to show you the boot. So let's have a look at that. It has one. And it's not a bad size. And I think that bottle of water is what was rolling around in the back. Maybe we'll see if we can stash that somewhere. There you go, that's wedged in. Look, even the jack is still wrapped. Still got the toolkit, which I daren't even open, and a spare wheel trim of a rotary nature, I notice. Oh, just precision engineering, beautiful. For a bit of fun, let's go and see how it compares with a more modern Familia, the BF generation from the 1980s, perhaps in a state form. Woo! Going through. So we're back at DFTR Automotive. We've finished with the 1000, the second generation Familia. We're now on to what I think is the 5th generation. It's a Mazda 323 estate of the BF generation. Rather plain styling, I would say, overall. Some of you may recognise it as the Sao Penza, which was a South African version, briefly sold in the UK, to try and get around import quotas. So yeah, not a remarkable looking car, but pleasing in this metallic blue, I would say, and a nice practical estate shape. Not this stupid sportback nonsense which seems to be all the rage. Clearly it hangs out in all the right places, and again a DFTR Automotive sticker as well. But look, lovely dealer plates. And let's go and have a peek inside, see how things have moved on from the 1970s. And yeah, a world of velour on the side. But look at the equipment. 4 electric windows, complete with instructions so you know how to use them. And yeah, very 1980s Japanese orange text everywhere. The RX-7s of this generation, exactly the same. I suspect a previous owner was a smoker by the look of it, but 62,000 miles on the clock. That's not bad at all. And the rev count of it goes all the way up to 8. Let's jump aboard for a better look around. Very standard Japanese heater controls. They really did standardize those. They're all the same. You've got, I'm going to move that there because I prefer the air flowing in. Better for ventilation, 4-speed fan, and yeah, your various controls. Clearly that is not a 1980s stereo, and sadly there are no fuses in the ashtray. Oh look, classic albums, the Smiths and other things to enjoy. There's a tea towel because the aftermarket Britax sunroof, or it may have been a dealer fit option, has started leaking, as they so often do. But look, you've even got curb illumination, so lights to warn people when they're working. This one doesn't appear to be. Oh no, there we go, there's some light in there. It illuminates the curb and warns other road users that the door is open. Delicious features. And yeah, interesting. I'm not quite sure what that means. So is that for fan and that for just through flow ventilation? Interesting. And we've got illumination of the dashboard. The old Mazda has that as well. The Japanese do like to be able to adjust their dashboards. And again, look, a nod to the older car. We've got instructions on the stalk in a place you can't see from behind the wheel. That's marvellous. We've got variable intermittent wipers. Does this stalk do the front and the rear? No, we've got this little control here to do the rear. That's quite funky. Heated rear window. Typical lack of consistency with switches. You know, just have a completely different one for the heated rear window. Digital clock, we assume works. Oh yes, there we go. And I've timed it really well. The traffic is rather in rush hour at the moment. Mazda Militia. I have no idea who they are, but probably best not to get in a fight with them if that's their view on things. How do I turn this off? There we go. Pleasingly digital, even if I don't like it. We're up to a 5-speed gearbox now, and we're going to have a peek under the bonnet. So, by the 1980s, although this is a 1992 example, I note, fairly late for a BF, we're up to 1.6 litres. We've still got the overhead camshaft, but it's now transverse, driving the front wheels. Fuel injection is a feature as well. So complexity has gone up, but still we have lovely Japanese script in places. Rather lovely. And still relatively easy to work on. Everything is kind of accessible. Spark plugs and the fuel injector gubbins, as your return pipes variously, fuel filter. It's all quite easy to get at, and this one's in remarkably good condition. It's very pleasing. As with many low mileage cars of this era, slam panels can go rusty, but it's not too bad. What paint code have we got today? 5D. There we go. But I think it's about time we had a comparison. How does 1992 compare with 1974? Right, I shall apply a seat belt, even though the buckle seems a bit twisted there. Everything lights up. Idles better than my 323F, doesn't it? Before we start, let's do some wash action. Here we go. Oh, Adam, what? You've let us down. Sad face. No screen wash. Oh well. We'll play with the rear wiper later. We'll see if that's got any. This is a bit reclined for me. I've got driver's side height adjustment. I've got lumbar adjustment. I mean, this is quite a luxurious car for an early 90s estate. Right, the traffic is going to be horrible. Oh, we've got the heated rear window on, we don't need that. But let's go and do our best. Power steering as well, by the feel of it. Oh, I've got too much lumbar adjustment going on. Oh, that's odd. I can add to it or take away, but I can't remove it entirely. But yeah, I mean, this feels a lot more relaxing than the 1000 because we've got a lot more power, a lot more torque, and we're in 4th gear at 30 miles an hour, doing just over 1500 revs. So very different experience. I don't need any of that hot. We'll get rid of all of that. So like I say, this is the 5th generation, the second of the front wheel drive generations. The BD was the first generation. I think this might actually be the first Mazda 323 front wheel drive estate, because the original rear wheel drive estate remained in production with a different nose alongside the front wheel drive hatchback models. I'm pretty sure that's right. If I'm not, I'm sure my contributor to Retro Japanese, Dan Hurst, will correct me. I should know because he's written several features on the 323s, one of them fairly recently. He also made a gag about the Familia name, because again, in Japan this would have been sold as the Familia, not the 323. The 323 was an export name. I think the Japanese thought that Europeans and Americans might get confused by their names, although bizarrely the Mazda 323 was sold in America as the GLC, the great little car. So maybe if you're in America, you're now screaming at your computer because that was such an appalling accent, but you may have seen a great little car on your travels. Oh look, a Nissan Cube of the later rounded, not quite as quirky type. I think I might stop recording until I can actually find some roads I can drive on. Okay, that was a bad idea. We've turned around, we're going back the other way instead. We'll get stuck in a different traffic jam, it's fine. Because first gear is a lot taller than the little 1000 we were in earlier, you do have to do a bit more clutch slipping to get them moving. But similarly good-natured, you can just potter along, feet off the pedals. No problem at all. Right, note to self, don't try and conduct road tests in rush hour. And accelerate. And immediately slow down again. Quite punchy. I've no idea what the BHP is. I will try and find out and put it in the description, or maybe it just appeared there. If I've actually managed to do some planning and pull the information out for you. Oh, this is amusing. This Fiesta really doesn't want to let the spark in, so they're going to have a needless argument. Who's going to yield first? If I was a car in front of the Fiesta, I'd stop just to annoy them. You're quite welcome, Chevrolet Spark Lady. You can turn your hazard lights off now. No, apparently you can't. Yeah, there you go. Certainly this car is not short of power. It's quite punchy. I would say it would outperform a Rover 820 carburetted version. So although I know this road has speed humps, they're not very severe. And it's a good test of the suspension, which is really quite good. I mean, my friends Eddie and Bernie have a fleet of Mazda 323s of various ages. They absolutely love them, and it's very easy to see why. I mean, if you want a car to just get in, go somewhere, I mean, I have driven them in conditions better than this, and they're just nice cars. You can drive as quickly as you want in them. They just feel planted. They're not the best in terms of handling, they're not the best in terms of ride, but as an overall compromise, they're absolutely marvellous. It's just kind of what you want in a car. That is what the Mazda 323 is all about. It isn't as charming as the earlier Familia, but nonetheless it is very much of its time with this sea of bright orange. It's a curious phase that the Japanese went through. Early Nissan Bluebirds of the T12 type, again very, very orange. Not an unpleasant noise either, that's quite gruff. Very appealing. Oh, I came through here in the 1000 earlier. This feels eminently more chuckable. There's no no feel so much going on, but yeah, it's just nice. I will say the seat is rather firm. It's not overly comfortable. It's more comfortable than the 1000. After half an hour in that seat, things were getting a bit hurty. But yeah, this is quite nice. Anyway, I think this rather boring drive will be the end of this one. So I shall say thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you go. Hopefully future videos will be more interesting and have less pottering about industrial estates desperately trying to escape traffic. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to head to the shop. If you go to HubNut.org, you will see all of the lovely instructions for that. And I shall see you in a future video. Farewell. Ignis! Promise you some hot rear wire. Oh yes, we got it going on behind. Not a very good blade, but still, screen wash and hot wiper action. So ends another video.